Do electromagnetic fields cause cancer? And remember, it's not just cell phones. This is radio waves, this is TV signals, cell phones, Wi-Fi. Anywhere there's electricity, lightning, power moving through power lines, every electric appliance in your home, every device that has a battery, everything is generating these electromagnetic fields. Hi, my name is Ryan Quinton. I'm a doctor at Stanford and I make videos about cancer. Today we're answering the question, do cell phones cause cancer? This is actually a pretty good question. If you don't really have a good sense of why we get cancer and what causes cancer, then a giant tower that's emitting invisible fields of energy into devices that we carry around in our pockets and hold up to our heads seems what the kids are calling these days completely sus. If you want to get a basic understanding of what causes cancer and why we get cancer, you should check out some of my previous videos that explain that. If you've already seen those videos, then you know that cancer comes from mutations. And mutations are just changes in our DNA, and those changes can change the behavior of our cells, and sometimes that behavior changes in a way that makes cells divide uncontrollably. They form collections of cells called tumors, and that is what we call cancer. So to answer the question, do cell phones cause cancer, we really just need to answer the question, do cell phones cause mutations? Can our cell phones cause mutations in our DNA? How do cell phones work anyways? Well, the answer is electrons. Cell phones work by moving electrons. See, a long time ago, a bunch of geniuses found out that if you move electrons in an organized way, then it can create energy. This is what electricity is, moving electrons. It turns out that when electrons move, they send out an invisible wave of energy, and we call that energy an electromagnetic field, or EMF. We then learned that we could use this energy to send signals. And this is the way that the first radios worked, and it's the way that cell phones work today. Electrons move around, an electromagnetic field is created. That field shoots across the world at the speed of light, is received by another device. That is how messages are sent instantaneously. And the fact that human beings figured out how to do this is absolutely insane. But enough about that. The question at hand is, do electromagnetic fields cause cancer? And remember, it's not just cell phones. This is radio waves, this is TV signals, cell phones, Wi-Fi. Anywhere there's electricity, lightning, power moving through power lines, every electric appliance in your home, every device that has a battery, everything is generating these electromagnetic fields. If your eyes could be opened, you would see that we're moving in an ocean of electromagnetic fields. Well, to be fair, your eyes can see some electromagnetic fields. Turns out that the sun, which is this just glowing ball of radiation, moves around a lot of electrons. It generates massive fields of electromagnetic radiation. Most of this is invisible, but there is a very narrow spectrum of electromagnetic radiation that we call visible light. And it's what we perceive as all of the colors of the rainbow. That electromagnetic radiation comes from the sun, bounces off the objects around us, is reflected into our eyeballs. Our nerves then interpret that radiation as different colors, and that is how we see. The world is a sea of electromagnetic radiation. A very narrow spectrum of that is visible light that allows us to physically see, but the vast majority of it is invisible. So if you want to live a life free of electromagnetic radiation, I've got bad news for you. You don't just have to avoid cell phones, cell phone towers, and electricity. You need to also avoid the sun, which is kind of difficult to do. Not impossible. Shout out to the vampires of the world. Anyways, do these EMFs cause cancer? The answer is no. There have been literally thousands of studies done on this. Population-based studies where different groups of people, those that have been exposed to high levels of EMFs compared to those who have limited exposure. There have been countless studies done in labs where EMFs have been tested to see what is their effect on cells, on DNA. EMFs do not have the power to generate mutations. They cannot change our DNA. So there is no plausible mechanism by which they could cause cancer. So that's the simple answer. No, cell phones don't cause cancer. Neither does Wi-Fi, power lines, microwaves, the visible light we see with our eyes. None of these EMFs, by any mechanism that we have been able to detect, can plausibly cause cancer because they do not generate mutations in our DNA. Now, there's an important distinction to be made here, okay? Because there are two classifications of EMFs, and they are non-ionizing radiation and ionizing radiation. Now, the EMFs that are in the ionizing radiation category are dangerous. These are electromagnetic waves on the highest end of the frequency spectrum. They are called ionizing radiation because they are strong enough that they can rip electrons off atoms as they crash into them. They're powerful. These can cause mutations. These are known to cause cancer. The ionizing radiation electromagnetic waves are things like really powerful UV rays that come from the sun, X-rays, gamma rays, alpha radiation, things that come from nuclear energy. These are energy waves that are powerful enough to cause mutations. But the rest of the electromagnetic spectrum is called non-ionizing radiation. These are lower frequency waves, and these are the waves that are used in communication. This is the kind of radiation that is produced by power lines, radios, cell phones, cell phone towers, Wi-Fi, and microwaves. This is the kind that our eyes see and interpret as different colors of light. The communication technology on the planet, from radio waves to 5G, it all uses non-ionizing radiation. These EMFs are of the lower frequency, and never has it been found that this non-ionizing radiation has the power to generate mutations in our DNA. Now, if you crank the power up enough on some of this radiation, it actually can cause harm. It can't mutate your DNA, it can't cause cancer, but what it can do is actually heat up your tissues. In fact, this is how microwaves work. Microwaves are non-ionizing radiation, and they cause the water molecules in your food to vibrate quickly, and that generates heat, and that's how your food heats up. I think all of us are a little bit scared of microwaves. Are the microwaves secretly slipping through that kind of flimsy looking barrier on the door? And I'll tell you what, there's a surefire way to test to see if microwaves are leaking out. Put your hand up against the door of your microwave, turn the microwave on full blast, and see if your hand starts to burn, blister, melt, okay? If that's happening, microwaves are getting out. And if that is not happening, the microwaves are not getting out. I'm gonna patent that as the Ryan Quinton microwave check. Now, while there have been thousands of studies that show that this non-ionizing radiation, that these EMFs do not cause cancer, there have been a few studies here and there that have shown a very modest connection to increased rates of cancer. And this is normal, okay? This is how science works. People will publish experiments, share their results. Different scientists will then try to take those results, replicate them, and build upon them. On any range of issues, you could find some individual study that basically supports any conclusion that you want. But our best bet at finding truth is to rely not on any single study, but to rely on hundreds and thousands of studies that all agree and have come to similar conclusions. When large numbers of studies all agree, this is called scientific consensus. And the scientific consensus on this issue is that EMFs generated by power lines, radio waves, cell phone signals, Wi-Fi signals, lightning storms, the electrical appliances in our homes, these EMFs do not cause cancer. They operate in the spectrum of electromagnetic radiation known as non-ionizing radiation. They do not have the power to generate mutations, therefore they cannot cause cancer. In fact, whenever I see a cell phone tower, a little part of me wants to just get out of my car and just kneel at the altar of steel and electrons, dancing in the sea of electromagnetic radiation, moving at the speed of light. If that is not one of the most beautiful and awe-inspiring things that doesn't make you want to get down and maybe just, lick one of those steel poles, and you don't have a heart.